Alright, so in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about finances and budgeting when it relates to the RV world. So this is really just basic finance conversation, but we'll talk through it since it is specific to RVs and we've just been through the process. So one of the first deciding factors is a lot of people will finance their RV, and I mean it's common sense, I think. But if you're going to have a finance payment, then that's part of your monthly budget expense to account for. For example, if you have a truck or a vehicle that you're going to tow with or tow behind, again, if you're making payments on that versus paying cash for that, that's going to affect your monthly budget. So those were the two big pieces there. So the RV choices really are: you could have a drivable RV, or you can have a towed trailer, or a towed fifth wheel, or some sort of RV that you tow behind. Um, and then with uh, with the tow behind, you've got to have a truck to tow it with, obviously. And if you have a drivable, you're going to tow something behind the drivable RV that you can get around in, because you don't want to go to the store in a 40-foot motorhome, or maybe you do, but you shouldn't. Um, so somewhere along the way, we realized that for the same general cost of our original plan, which was a fifth wheel and a truck, we could switch that over to a Class A and tow a car behind us. So the budgeting worked out pretty similar either way, ultimately, because the trucks are super expensive. The big 350, 450 Fords and equivalent, Dodger Chevys, whatever, are way high on the price range. If you're going to buy that quality rig with a nice trim package or whatever. So your biggest expenses really the RV, and then either a towed vehicle or a towing vehicle, depending on the type of RV you go with. And then there is a long list of RV accessories you're going to need, and some smaller things like dump hoses. And we did a video on plumbing, basic plumbing, so you've seen the dump hose, know what that's about. Water pressure regulator, that was included in that video as well, the plumbing video. And then probably 100 or more other things, right? Some are low cost, some are high cost, or some are not so low. And I mapped all this out by watching tons of YouTubes, and then following my very favorite people on YouTube and using their budgets. A lot of them share budgets, or you can just do a Google search for RV full-time budget. And people list the accessories that they bought, the things that they feel like you need. Some of them will have affiliate links to Amazon stores, so it makes it super simple. It's like, if I want a great dump hose that's good quality, and I trust these people I've been listening to for 5 years and know that they're only buying quality stuff, then I would certainly buy it from their Amazon store. No hesitation at all with that. So made it easy to really buy all the accessories by just picking through their store. Honestly, they benefit. It didn't cost me any more, but I value their content, and so I was happy to use their affiliate links. And honestly, it made it super simple for us. So but despite so much time and effort that we put into it, we still missed some things. So along the way, we're having things shipped to us on the road because we just couldn't. You can't know it all going into this, right? So in some cases, we bought the wrong items. The straps for the car, you have to, when you put a car inside of an enclosed car trailer, you can't just let it ride. I learned you have to strap each tire down really, really well. And so I watched a million YouTubes and learned how that car strapping works, and bought a set of straps, but I didn't pay attention. And the straps that I needed had a hook that go on a D-ring with no slack. The hook would be directly on the ratchet. The one I ended up with had about a 6 or 8 inch piece of webbing or strap, and then this big metal hook that wouldn't fit our D-rings. So a few days before we were about to take off, we finally got the chance to get the car in the trailer and try to strap it in. And lo and behold, those hooks that I got on that end of the strap just simply were not going to hook into the D rings in the trailer. So Rhoda ran off to Tractor Supply right away and found what we needed, and or what we thought we needed, and that's when we learned about the. Anyway, so with all the effort that we put into trying to buy the right things the right time, it took us buying literally 3 sets of straps to get all the right pieces that we needed, to be just right for what we needed to do to strap the car down. And you know, people that know me know I want to get that right the first time. I don't want to waste money. I don't want to buy redundant things. Truth is, we've used those straps, the spare straps, the unneeded straps, for other things already. And I'm sure we'll find plenty of other uses for those straps, strapping things in the front of the car trailer, for example, and things like that. So it didn't feel quite as wasteful as maybe it would have normally. But it was really impossible for us without the experience and without getting those straps in and immediately testing them out to sort through those details until we're right in the middle of it. So the other one that really threw us, and I'll include some pictures here, is hitches. You know, I didn't know a whole lot about hitches, but you know, we bought a hitch at the trailer place and realized it's a 2x2 hitch. The car hitch receiver and the motorhome are both 2x2 inch hitch receivers, so the same hitch we wanted to repurpose and use if we used the car to tow. There was a towing video we did, and there was some difficulty though. The hitch fits in there, but the way the hitch is made, it's not going to show up in the picture too well. It bumps into the back of the car before it really gets seated right. So I had to bend some of the plastic on the car to get the hitch all the way in and then pin that thing in there. And so that was not ideal. So then the natural progression was a hitch extender. So we bought that. The trick there is it works. So you put the extender into the receiver of the car hitch, and then that hitch will just sit out there without having to bend the, you know, the back of the car bumper a little bit to fit the hitch all the way in right. But it cuts your tongue weight capacity in half. And so with the car having a 3,500 pound towing capacity, we needed to keep the tongue weight at 350. I think they say 9% to 15% of your towing capacity needs to be your tongue weight. So the tongue weight's the downward pressure on the tongue, and then the weight of the whole trailer has to be under 3,500 pounds, the car's towing capacity. So to tow the trailer with the car, like inside of a campground when we needed to move it, we needed to actually shift things from the front of the trailer to the back, and then actually have Rhoda sit in the back of the trailer to add a little bit more weight to get our tongue weight lighter. It was too heavy to be safe for what the car hitch was rated for. Well, now with the hitch extender, you cut that in half, so you're like at 175 pounds. So then, fast forward, we're driving down the road. The car kind of slips forward a few inches, bumps into the shelf a little bit. No damage was done. But as we're trucking down the road to get to Arizona, I had this thought: why don't I buy a cheap low-end hitch and ball for the car, leave it seated in the car inside the trailer, and then use one of our mini extra straps now. And there's D-rings in the back of the trailer. I could actually strap the car on the tongue backwards in the trailer so that it can't slide forward. We have yet another force keeping the car from moving forward. So at a local Ace Hardware, I went to look for a new hitch for the car to leave in it, basically just to leave in it at the time, I was thinking, when we're going to strap it into the trailer to help it, you know, stay put. And it took getting it here and looking at it and thinking about the fact that, well, now, why don't we just use that hitch? I went ahead and got one rated for 6,000 pounds or something, because we can actually use it without the hitch extender and the other ball and hitch with the car. So now the car has its own towing hitch and we don't have to juggle weight around. So having this new hitch for the car really lets us strap it down better in the trailer and way more easily tow the car trailer with the car inside of RV park specifically. So that really worked out okay in the end. I'll show some pictures of the various hitches and stuff. And again, there's an example in there where when I bought the car hitch, I didn't see that inside the car hitch, inside the tape around it, there was a hitch pin. So I grabbed a hitch pin off the shelf thinking you got to have a hitch pin. So, by not knowing better, not reading the fine print maybe, I didn't realize I was going to end up with a spare hitch pin. Not the end of the world, it's a few bucks. But I do not like to spend money we don't need to spend when that's possible. So that's kind of an example of how with the car straps and the towing hardware, just simply not knowing due to lack of experience, we had a few missteps or took multiple stabs to get it just right. So, and that's fine. It wasn't a ton of money. And then onto the accessories a bit more now. We did pre-order probably August, I think. Went through Changing Lanes RV's online store and using their affiliate links. We bought a lot of the accessories and just stored them at the house, basically. Had them ready for to have on hand. We were able to inspect things, make sure that everything worked, everything was in good shape by getting them early and just making sure there weren't supply chain problems. There's been so much the last 2 years with that. And making sure we had all the stuff we needed to be able to get on the road with all the right gear. So we ordered all that. It came in, kept track of it in a spreadsheet, of course, to make sure what was been ordered, what's shown up, what's been tested, what's in good shape. And then most recently, ongoing, we can have Amazon ship right to our RV site. It's pretty slick and a little bit dangerous, but you just give the address of the campground you're in and the site, and a lot of places will let you just have it delivered straight to your site. So Amazon and UPS and FedEx just pulled right up to the door and set it right outside. We've most recent purchases were a Blackstone griddle. We bought an electric Blackstone griddle. We ordered recently some UV protective covers for the RV and car trailer tires, and some pool noodles. So the covers for the tires, what that's about is these big truck tires that are on this motorhome. Actually, our RV inspector, if he's right, had said that we probably won't put enough miles on these tires, no matter how much we drive, to wear the tread down. It'll be an age issue, 5-6 years or whatever, when they have to be replaced due to aging out more than anything to do with tread. So one of the ways to protect them is UV breaks down tires. We're sitting here for 2 months straight in Arizona with the sun beating on tires throughout the day. So a lot of people put tire covers on their vehicle tires and just protect those from the UV stuff. So even the most careful planner and budget maker will come in short on what the cost of all the extra stuff is. After 6-7 years of watching tons of YouTubes and building elaborate spreadsheets and trying to track all the accessories we would need and all that, we still missed on some stuff, and that's the nature of it. So my advice is to find several lists and recommendations of all the extra stuff you're going to need. Get real pricing for it, real-time pricing. If somebody made their list 3 years ago, the price is going to be much higher in this current economy, for example. And then once you get that list, maybe double that number and make sure you have that much money planned for all this extra stuff, and maybe even triple it, because I just remember thinking, I can't believe how much stuff we need to do this. There's just so much accessorizing of the RV, and not even optional stuff I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the hardware and the gear that's really needed to jump into this. So again, you need the RV, you need a towing vehicle or a towed vehicle, and a lot more stuff than you think, a lot more stuff than you realize beyond that. So it's ironic because to go full time, you're going to get rid of most of the stuff in your house. I don't recommend storing stuff, right? Because over time, the amount you paid for storage is going to outvalue the stuff you're storing, and most people find that over time they didn't need that stuff and they just blew a bunch of money. So you're gonna get rid of most of your stuff from your house and then replace it with this new RV stuff. So that's kind of the irony that we've seen with this. So on to some more budget details here. Whether you buy a new or planning to buy a used RV, figure out what your absolute maximum budget is for it and get the best quality you can possibly afford. And if you cannot afford at least a low bar of quality, whatever that is, and that's a moving target that's hard to pin down. I've got strong opinions on it now, but there's a lot of people online that'll talk about quality, and I think they're way off the mark. But it's actually really hard to come by this quality determination. But if you're not really certain that you're buying some level of quality, then you might want to avoid this life, just frankly. Um, Same for the accessories. Stuff will wear out, and you don't want a cheap dump hose, for example, to bust after only a few uses. So if you're not buying quality accessories, you might be somewhere that you can't easily run to a store and get a new dump hose, and now your tank is full. So what are you going to do? And in my world, I like to carry spares, so of course we do have spare dump hose and quite a few spare things. I'd like to add more spare, like especially parts, maybe parts for the RV that are hard to get or have a long lead time. So that's a longer term project for us to map out and try to plan for. And then as far as quality and budgeting goes, a friend of mine from Omaha, about a year ago probably, I can't remember exactly, he and his wife wanted to dive into the full-time RV life and do some blogging and YouTube and make a go of that. And it was just a few months before we launched, and within probably a few weeks or at most a few months, it was over. They had bought a lemon. There are no lemon laws related to RVs, so there's no protection there. If you don't have it inspected, then you're up a creek when the things just starts to fall apart. Theirs had some significant plumbing issues, and despite him having great skills and spending the time to fix it and do the work that was needed, they simply didn't have the cash to recover from the repair effort, and the trip was over before it really got started. So that's super unfortunate. And quality is hard to determine, but truly you get what you pay for. So if you find the 2 or 3 most expensive brands of motorhome or fifth wheel or whatever you're looking at, and then look at the 2 or 3 cheapest, you probably land up somewhere in the middle of that. And again, try to go up to the highest quality that you can possibly afford. Stuff's going to break. It's going to break a lot. I hate how overused this is, but it's a rolling earthquake. It's like a 3 or 4 magnitude earthquake rolling down the road every time you drive any distance with the thing. So even though it's designed for that, stuff's breaking all the time. So you're going to have money and a little bit of skill, no matter which RV you get. You need money to keep it put together, and you need at minimum some basic handyman and YouTube learning skills to keep things working and keep it together. So, all right, so you bought the RV and the towed vehicle or the towing vehicle and all the accessories you need to get started now. So now what does your monthly budget look like? You've got the getting into it budget. Now you've got the staying in it budget. So the expenses will keep coming even as you enter your RV full-time life, at least for a while. And as you learn the stuff that you need and you didn't realize. So there is a significant ramping in cost that first month or two as you're learning. But I'm talking about now beyond that, what's your normal monthly budget look like? So it's not super hard to get your arms around what that budget should be. And how do you build a budget for this entire new lifestyle? You haven't probably been doing it. We hadn't. But lucky for you, lots of people have shared their budgets freely online. You can do web searches for that. I read a dozen or two of those shared budgets, and just began to build a budget of our own based on what I learned. I just started a spreadsheet, and I would copy from the budgets I saw that were shared into our spreadsheet. And then if somebody, I remember one guy budgeted $400 a month for alcohol, for example. We don't drink, so delete that line. But I didn't think about sometimes paying for water. If you're going down the road and you needed water and you're not staying somewhere with hookups, you might have to pay a little bit for water, for dumping. The cost of propane. At the time we thought we'd have a propane rig. Some people budget, 100, 500, whatever a month for eating out, or they have a budget for their 2 or 3 big dogs. Um, we don't have dogs. I love dogs, but we don't have dogs traveling with us, so we don't have that in our budget. We do eat out very infrequently, maybe once a week at most, and it's never super expensive. So basically, I'm saying just like a home budget, you can build your RV full-time budget, and looking at examples of other people will help you learn the pieces that you don't currently know because you're not doing it. And then another huge variable, two big variables, are the cost of staying in campgrounds and the cost of fuel. So whether you have a gas or a diesel uh, driving engine that you go down the road with, we used GasBuddy.com from the beginning to map out trips. GasBuddy has a trip planner for free, and you can just put a starting point and an end point, estimate your mileage, tell it your fuel tank size. They will find you the cheapest fuel along the route and give you real-time cost of that trip. So from when we started planning this 7 years ago, I think my most recent, maybe 3 years ago from now, in 2019 or 18, I had done a GasBuddy for about a 4-month leg of a trip just to see what the fuel looked like. And then a year before we jumped, I did it again before we launched. Did that same exact trip through GasBuddy, and the cost of fuel had doubled. And everybody has felt that pain, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the fact is that tool is there for you to know what your monthly fuel budget is going to cost. You need to figure out if you're going to stay somewhere a week at a time, a month at a time, 2 months at a time, how long you're going to stay put in general. It won't be 100% accurate, but kind of figure out how long you're going to spend in an area, and that'll help you start to put a number down for fuel cost. And then campground fees, right? You can boondock. That's staying places where there's no hookups. That's very, very cheap or totally free. Or you can spend $2,000 a month on the super fancy resort locations in the prime spots around the country. Or more commonly, 20, 30 bucks a night is common if you do the monthly rate. So whatever the daily rate is, the weekly rate's cheaper per day, and the monthly rate's even cheaper per day. Most places, if you're doing monthly, you're going to pay for electricity actual usage. And less than a month, it's all the utilities are built in. So you can download an app like RV Parky, RVPARKY is a free app. And what I did was, as I planned, say a 4-month trip from Omaha to Florida and up the East Coast to DC and whatever, I used GasBuddy to get the fuel price, and I used RV Parky to actually find places we might want to stay in the area. And then RV Parky gives you a price, and sometimes I even called the campgrounds and talked to them just as a learning exercise, right? And so two of the biggest expenses being campground stays and fuel to get places. There are tools to let you hone in on that even before you jump into it full time. Because even somebody else's budget, that's really hard to mimic because they're doing something very different than what you're probably going to do as far as how often you move, how far do you drive in a day, are you willing to zigzag the country, or are you going to kind of plan your journey along the way of a path and then find destinations in a general direction versus a lot of zigzagging around stuff. So what else? So on that point, our goal is to stay at least a month. We've stayed here in Arizona 2 months at the same spot, and that was really because we were super busy closing on the house, and we were late for getting into the reservation season for Arizona as we were calling out for places. I had time to, and most places were full, frankly. So we missed the mark on that, so that when I found a place and they had 2 months available, we just took it and thought we will land there and enjoy Arizona, and we'll just get in the car and drive around and see the whole area in that 2-month period. And it's worked out really well. In general, we plan to stay places a month. That lets us see the area over the weekends and evenings pretty comfortably and reduce the daily cost of staying in campgrounds. We thought we would boondock a lot, and we may still. We will try it for sure, but we're pretty spoiled to full hookups, and especially working full time. It's nice not to have to fiddle with tanks and stuff if you just have all the hookups at your site. So, one thing I've noticed is I think we have a little less free time than I'd hoped. You know, we work 8 to 5, and days are pretty short right now. They're getting longer now as we're entering the end of December. So we really count on weekends to get out and see stuff. An hour or two in the evening is just not much daylight to get out and see stuff. But it's still fun. It'd be more fun retired, but we enjoy what we do for a living, and we enjoy the income and insurance that provides. So as I read sample budgets online, I really did see people living on less than $1,000 a month, and they're mostly boondocking. They're not paying anything to camp. That's just their fuel, food, basics. And then there's people that spent over $15,000 a month. Those are wealthy people. Kudos to them, who stay in the nicest resorts, maybe in a $700,000 to $1 million motorhome. They eat out every meal. They go to all the entertainment, so on and so forth, right? So it really is the same spectrum as a house budget. It's whatever you want to make it be versus the comfort that you want. When I started this several years ago, the average that I saw was about $3,000 a month is what people spent on everything all in, for those that have an RV payment or not, fuel, food, all the items that go into the budget. It was $3,000 a month. So I said, well, let's say plan for $4,000 a month, and hope to come under that as costs settle down and as we learn, better what we're doing and how to be more efficient with things. So I have created a couple of budget blog posts, and we'll link those below. Hopefully they're useful for additional reading. Neither of them is very long, because I was blogging for a while, getting into fulltimervplanning.com was the website. I let it expire. But it was an outlet for me to capture my notes and try to structure things, and then to be able to share with other people online when they said, hey, how do you build a budget for getting into this? I would have it pre-written, and I would just send them a link. So I'll put those links in the comments below. And then another thing I hear people mention is insurance. The debate is always to, if you're a full-timer, letting them know that you're a full-timer, because most insurance companies won't insure a full-time RV. They want you to be living somewhere in a house, and they will insure your part-time use RV. So you have to find the small handful, Progressive, Safeco, National, a few that will do it. Some people actually give advice online of committing fraud and lying and saying that you are not full-time because it's none of their business. Well, the truth is, if you file a claim, they probably won't pay that claim if you lied to them, and when, not if, they figure out that you were full-time in it. So when you do insurance, ours gives the option to save money if we pay annually, so we did that. The thing to keep in mind, common sense, of course, is we have to have that money again next year to pay for insurance on everything. We did an annual payment on everything, so we don't have that monthly payment, so to speak, but in a way we do, because once a year we need to come up with that bigger chunk of money. And then other things to plan for are like tire costs. I just heard we follow Today is Someday, Phil and Stacy. Love those guys a lot, and they have a Tiffin as well. So they have the big truck tires that we have, and they mentioned recently it's $4,000 to replace the 6 tires on this thing with the big truck tires. So either have a big emergency reserve with cash for tires, or be monthly putting away enough so that you have tire money. Internet costs, that's going to vary depending on your needs. Some people turn on the hotspot on their phone and then they call it good enough. If you work full-time from the road and you have to be online, you're probably going to want or need a more robust plan. I'll share a link in the comments. Changing Lanes RV, Chad and Tara have an excellent video on that. I need to put together my own video of that, I guess, because I always refer to theirs. But no single provider is going to be everywhere. So if you have Verizon and it's awesome most places, it won't be awesome every place. T-Mobile the same, AT&T the same. So you need at least 2 4G, 5G providers, and you need Starlink. Starlink is not yet as reliable. I mean, it's been great for us in this location. Um, but with two cellular providers and Starlink, and then a router that can combine all those links into one connection, that's kind of the most resilient way. But you pay a pretty penny for the hardware, and then for the monthly data plan to keep all that going. So there's costs like that to factor in as well, whether that's the upfront cost getting in, or then of course part of your monthly cost ongoing.